Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Apologize. All right, so then the conversation changed. I'm taking where the conversation left off. And me and my friend were complaining, whining, moaning, a little bit stressed out, right, with everything going on in the city. But the conversation almost immediately changed to, man, we're going to buy houses like never before. And that's what's happened. So when I talk about the transfer of wealth, I want to show you an example of this. So this was a house in the Memorial area. We found this paper, right? This house that we bought. This house was purchased in 1982. This is a custom home, 3,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. We bought this house. It's got a nice pool. He paid $315,000 for it 20 years ago. 20 years ago. So we bought this house for $230,000, almost $100,000 less than the owner paid for it 30 years ago. And so this is, just an example of some of the transfer of wealth with just this situation and the magnitude of it and just the overwhelmingness for a lot of the sellers who were just walking away essentially. And fortunately for many, they do have flood insurance, so that's made it much easier for some, but a lot they don't have flood insurance and facing foreclosure situations and things, or just situations that they can't get out of. So and I'll repeat this because it's sad, and I've seen both sides when I was a kid and we lost our home, so I know what that feels like to a certain extent. But it's an opportunity in the marketplace, and it's our job as investors to legally and ethically take it, advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. And that's what we're doing, and that's what tonight's about. Because there are those who see an opportunity, right, and there's who sees an opportunity, and this is one you may want to consider seizing while it lasts in this current market. We're going to flood again, but I'm talking while it lasts in this market. And so the information that you're going to learn from tonight and gain from tonight is something I believe that if you plan on being in the investing game for the long term, it's something that you'll be able to use in different in the future, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever. Things happen, unfortunately, but we need to know how to respond to find out how to create value in the marketplace when these problems arise. So this was jaw dropping to me. And I remember being in my house a few days after the flood and kind of like, okay, what do we do here? What's going on? There's already the Facebook chatter starting up. And I'm like, man, and I was still a little bit nervous. It's like, I've never been in a situation like this, but I found a stat and I didn't write it down. I just remember it stuck out in my mind. But there was some research done by this is like major market areas, major metropolitan areas, and they basically did research on areas that were affected by natural disasters, and essentially there was 0% impact on housing prices after 3 years, like zero impact, zero, 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 zero. So my thoughts immediately, I said, okay, so I don't know what's going to happen to the market for this next 6 months to a year, because nobody does. The Facebook prognosticators did not know. All right, so some of them may have guessed right, but many guessed wrong. So with the fact of the matter was, going back to late August, September, I didn't know. So I read this and I really grabbed hold of this and I said, okay, we need to take a 3-year approach, right? With every property that we buy, we need to plan on holding it for 3 years, because after 3 years, statistically speaking, there should be a 0% impact. And what did Benjamin Graham say? That successful investing is about managing risk. So I'm like, I think we're gonna roll the dice, right? Very wisely, intelligently grabbing data for a 3-year play. So let's look at this. So we're gonna start moving into like what types of houses to buy and what not to buy. So this is really important that the houses that have experienced multiple flood events and deep water flooding, I'm not saying we don't avoid them completely. I'm telling you they are less ideal. What we're ideally looking for are first-time floods, houses that have never flooded before until Harvey. Or the house I just showed you a second ago, that where the gentleman bought it in 1982, that house has never flooded before. What's the likelihood that it's going to flood in the next 3 years? It's not likely, right? It's possible. I understand that it is possible. It's just not likely. So that's managing that risk. If you have a house, some of these houses in the Houston area, or in the Meyerland area, that they flooded 3 times in the last 15 months, 18 months, that's very highly likely to flood again. Guess what types of homes we are not buying? Those types of homes. Houses with deep water flooding, generally this many buyers with homes that flooded over 4 foot, that's a little too graphic of a mental image for them to move forward on those homes. Yet many of them are still, but it's not our ideal property. It's something that we are not looking for. It's something that we're not looking for in those. I'm going to try to speak louder, but it's a little bit awkward. McDonald's, yeah, Mickey D's. All right, so this was just a stat where this person predicted the market to return to a more normal state in about 6 months to a year. Turns out this guy might have, you know, been a little closer than many. Um, so here are some flood house investing guidelines. If you're wanting to know what to look for, what not to look for, this is some things, just some guidelines to share. So first and foremost, if you're talking to a private lender, one of the things that they want to know is, hey, what's your exit strategy? How are you going to get out of this loan if things go bad or things go sideways or whatever? So I would say that investors that are going into this to flipping flood houses with the one exit strategy to flip it, I would say that's that is a poor game plan. So I would encourage all investors to go into these properties being prepared to hold. And like I said, this training is not just for now, it's in the future. But when another flood comes and you choose to buy flood properties, be prepared to hold, because you don't know how that particular flood is going to impact your market. So we're also going to talk about, we're identifying houses where we have multiple exit strategies just in case. But be prepared to withstand another flood, right? Because another flood can happen at any time, not just during the hurricane season. Look at the brief last 2-year history in the Houston area, where, yeah, we had Hurricane Harvey, but we had the tax day flood, and we had the Memorial Day flood, right? Neither of those during hurricane season. So be prepared to withstand another flood. I had a house flash flood one weekend, not during a hurricane season. It was just a random little section of a neighborhood flooded, and we got hit right before going to the market. You better buy with a discount. So what I'm talking about is a flood discount. So we typically use the 75%, right, of ARV minus repairs. Those of you, most of you guys who are seasoned investors know that formula. So what it also equates to is, after your purchase price and repairs, you need to have at least 25% equity in that deal. I'd encourage you to have at least 10% more discount, about at least additional 10% discount for first-time floods. Second or third-time floods, you need to go deeper. How much deeper? I don't have an exact number on that. Of course, it depends on the price point of the home, but buy with a discount. Buy with a discount. Buy with a discount. I'll show you some of our case studies, what we're buying them at. CYA, you're gonna have to cover your bases with the mold remediation and documentation. There are some scary, unprofessional, ugly rehabs going on the market right now from inexperienced, really uneducated, unseasoned investors using really shoddy contractors, and it's really scary, and they're setting themselves up for lawsuits out the butthole. And, I'm not even going to lie, they're really setting themselves up for a big headache. So I'm going to talk a little bit in just later slides about what we do to create a little CYA for ourselves, right? So that's important. But two, and this is just as important, really it's equally or more important, to give our buyers, whoever's buying the home, or our renters, a peace of mind that we did the remediation properly. And I'm going to show you how we document it. So we get a certificate of mold damage remediation, right? So this is one form that we get, making sure that the house is inspected and has received a clean bill of health. This is really important, and this is, in my opinion, non-negotiable. Like you spend the money, you get the person come out, choose around $400 or $500, and get it going, right? And so then the second thing is, I don't think I have pictures on this right now, but we take a ton of pictures of the property after it's been gutted and demoed. We clean, we clean. I forget the type of cleaner my construction manager has our guys use, but we do some special type of mold cleaning. We get the certificate. Then we don't even have to do this. We just do it. We replace all of the exterior moisture barrier, and we prime all of the studs, exterior wall areas with a mold killing primer. Okay. And then importantly, we put insulation, do things like that we standardly do. Then after that, we take a lot of pictures, right, of this whole um, uh, scope of work that's going on. We take a lot of progress pictures to CYA, right, to cover our butts, but two, to give the buyer, the renter, the peace of mind. Hey, here's what the house looked like before sheetrock ever went back up. To give them that peace of mind, that I think is really important, and it should help with lawsuits as well in the future, my friends. So just be careful who's doing your rehabs and what's doing and what's going on and what you're doing before you put that sheetrock back up. All right, so avoid houses that are located in designated flood zones. So we don't like houses that are in flood zones. So why is that? Well, I'll tell you, we primarily focus our investment model 80% of the time. We're focusing on the burbs, the suburbs. We're focusing on a medium priced housing, right? We cater and invest in middle income America, so houses in the Houston market that are valued at $150,000 to $300,000. So why is the flood zone thing so important? One, because of future flooding, right? But two, because of flood insurance policies. So if you've got someone who's on a fixed income and they've got a $150,000 mortgage, and FEMA decides to jack up flood insurance premiums, well, if their flood insurance premium goes up $300 or $400, they may not be able to afford that house, right? Even $200. Or if you're trying to sell that house and your potential buyers are getting flood quotes, that may put your house out of their affordability range, right? So as a general rule, we do not like houses in flood zones. I never really have. We've done some deals in them, but it is something to be cautious of. So what do we like? We like first-time floods, non-flood zones, less than 4 water penetration, a neighborhood showing owner retention and quick recovery. How do you define that? You just drive through them and you can tell the good ones from the bad ones, quite frankly. We've already kind of mentioned this, and we are buying some of these. They're lower priced homes under $150,000 of ARV that had multiple floods. We're okay with a lot of those. And I'm not going to go too far in depth with this, but those houses, my friends, are becoming dinosaurs. You cannot build equal comparable products anywhere near them. I'm talking about 3-bedroom, 1,500 square feet, 2-bath, 2-car garage, mainly brick, pitch roof in the suburb kind of houses. It costs $250,000 to buy those houses now. That's why they're rapidly increasing in value each year, and we buy every single one of those that we can. Um, So, but what we don't like, multiple floods, located in a flood zone, higher than 4 foot water penetration, lack of owner retention, and quick recovery. There's some areas that are just damaged bad, and they look really bad. Case in point, Bear Creek area of Houston, multiple floods, really bad flooding, and it's just not good over there. Potential of being classified as a substantially damaged area. So what is that? So those of you who've kept up with the news, that's something that these are the areas where the cities really um, they have the ability to just say, nope, you can't fix up anything here, can't build, can't do anything unless you meet these standards, which is like really tearing down the property, building new, which is going to be 2 feet, 2 feet higher than 500 foot, 500-year flood elevation, or raising the house up. I was at a speaking event last night and someone asked, what's the return ROI if you have to raise a house? And I said, I'm not quite sure, but it starts with a negative symbol in front of that number. You do not want to get in the conversation about raising houses up.